A 13-year-old boy sat on the throne of the greatest empire in the world. Around him, emperors had been murdered, armies had betrayed their own rulers, and Rome was already collapsing into chaos. Could this child save the empire? Or would he become the next victim of the crisis of the 3rd century? The year was 238 AD, remembered forever as the year of the 6 emperors. Within only a few months, Maximinus Thrax, Gordian III, Gordian II, Pupienus, and Balbinus had all risen and fallen. The Roman Empire had become a battlefield where emperors were created and destroyed with terrifying speed. No one trusted the Senate. No one trusted the Praetorian Guard. Even the mighty Roman legions had become kingmakers, choosing rulers through force rather than law. Amid this political chaos, one unlikely figure remained alive. His name was Gordian III. Born in 225 AD, Gordian was the grandson of Gordian III, the elderly governor who had briefly challenged Maximinus Thrax during the African Revolt. When both his grandfather and uncle died after the disastrous Battle of Carthage, few imagined that the young boy would one day wear the imperial purple. Yet after the murders of Pupienus and Balbinus by the Praetorian Guard, the frightened Senate had no better choice. To prevent another civil war, they proclaimed the 13-year-old Gordian III as the sole emperor of Rome. Across the empire, many citizens welcomed the decision. The young emperor carried the respected Gordian family name, and after months of bloodshed, Romans desperately wanted peace. Coins bearing Gordian's portrait were minted throughout the provinces, while statues of the new emperor appeared in cities stretching from Britain to Egypt. For ordinary people, his youth symbolized hope that a new beginning might finally be possible. But everyone understood one important truth. A 13-year-old emperor could not govern the Roman Empire alone. Real authority rested in the hands of experienced senators, military commanders, and imperial advisors who surrounded the young ruler. Among them, one man quickly rose above the others, Timesitheus. Brilliant, disciplined, and deeply respected by the Roman army, he became Gordian's most trusted advisor. Unlike many ambitious politicians, Timesitheus focused on strengthening the empire rather than seeking the throne for himself. He reorganized the government, improved military discipline, reduced corruption, and gradually restored confidence among both the Senate and the legions. To strengthen their partnership, Gordian married Furia Sabinia Tranquillina, the daughter of Timesitheus, around 241 AD. The marriage united the imperial family with Rome's most capable military leader, creating a powerful alliance that many believed would stabilize the empire for years to come. While Rome slowly recovered, danger was once again rising in the east. The Sassanian Empire, now ruled by Shapur I, had inherited the ambitions of his father, Ardashir III. Shapur dreamed of expanding Persian power deep into Roman territory. One by one, frontier fortresses along Mesopotamia came under pressure. Important trade routes were threatened, and Roman governors sent urgent messages to the capital warning that another great war was approaching. Unlike earlier Persian kings, Shapur commanded an increasingly disciplined and aggressive army. His cavalry was stronger than ever, his siege engineers had improved their tactics, and he believed the Roman Empire had become too divided to resist a determined invasion. Persian banners advanced steadily toward Roman territory, while merchants fleeing the east described growing fear throughout the frontier provinces. Inside the imperial palace, Gordian III listened carefully as his generals explained the seriousness of the situation. Although still very young, he understood that another defensive campaign would not be enough. Rome needed to demonstrate strength before Persia could strike first. For the first time in his reign, the boy emperor prepared to lead the Roman army into one of the greatest wars of the 3rd century. The fate of the empire would soon be decided, not in Rome, but on the burning battlefields of Mesopotamia. The Roman Empire had survived 6 emperors. in a single year, but its greatest challenge was still ahead. While the young Gordian III strengthened the government in Rome with the help of his brilliant father-in-law Timesitheus, alarming news continued arriving from the eastern frontier. The new Persian king, Shapur I, was no longer testing Rome's defenses. He was preparing to destroy them. By 242 AD, Persian armies had crossed into Roman territory and captured several important cities in Mesopotamia. Frontier commanders reported that Roman garrisons were struggling to hold their positions. Trade routes connecting Syria with the east became increasingly dangerous, while refugees flooded westward carrying stories of burning towns and advancing Persian cavalry. If Rome failed to respond quickly, the eastern provinces that had belonged to the empire for centuries could be lost forever. The Senate approved an enormous military campaign. Across the empire, legions received orders to march east. Soldiers from Britain, Gaul, the Danube, North Africa, and Italy began gathering under one imperial command. Thousands of infantry, cavalry, engineers, doctors, and supply wagons stretched for miles across Roman roads. It was one of the largest armies assembled since the reign of Septimius Severus. Although only 17 years old, Gordian III decided to accompany the army personally. The young emperor understood that remaining safely inside Rome would damage his reputation. If he wished to earn the respect of the legions, he needed to stand beside them on campaign, just as the great emperors Trajan and Marcus Aurelius had done. Fortunately for Rome, the campaign had one enormous advantage: Timesitheus. Serving as Praetorian prefect, Timesitheus was not only Gordian's advisor, but also one of the finest military organizers of his generation. He carefully planned supply routes, strengthened frontier fortresses, coordinated thousands of troops, and ensured that every legion received food, weapons, and reinforcements. His leadership transformed the Roman expedition into a disciplined, fighting force capable of challenging Persia. As the Roman army entered Syria, crowds gathered to welcome the emperor. Cities decorated their streets with banners, while citizens celebrated the arrival of the legions. For many people living near the frontier, Gordian represented their last hope against Persian conquest. In late 242 AD, Roman forces crossed the Euphrates River and advanced into Mesopotamia. King Shapur I responded immediately. The Persian ruler assembled a massive army of heavily armored cavalry, mounted archers, and experienced infantry. His commanders intended to lure the Romans deep into hostile territory before surrounding them. The strategy relied upon speed and surprise, using the open plains of Mesopotamia to exploit the mobility of Persian cavalry. But Timesitheus anticipated many of these tactics. Roman engineers quickly built defensive camps each evening, while scouts constantly monitored Persian movements. Legionaries advanced in disciplined formations, preventing enemy cavalry from isolating individual units. Supply lines remained secure, allowing the Romans to continue their advance despite the difficult terrain. The first major engagements favored Rome. Near the important city of Resaena, Roman forces inflicted a significant defeat upon the Persian army. Ancient sources suggest that the disciplined Roman legions, supported by effective cavalry and careful planning, forced Shapur's forces to retreat from the battlefield. Several previously occupied Roman territories were recovered, and confidence spread rapidly throughout the army. The victory electrified the empire. Messages announcing Roman success reached cities across the Mediterranean. Statues were decorated with flowers, public celebrations filled the forums, and many believed the young emperor had achieved what earlier rulers could not. For the first time in years, Rome seemed capable of defeating the mighty Sassanian Empire. Encouraged by victory, Gordian ordered the advance to continue toward the Persian capital of Ctesiphon. If the Romans could capture the city, it would become one of the greatest triumphs of the 3rd century. But just as the campaign reached its most critical stage, disaster struck from within. During the march, Timesitheus suddenly became seriously ill. Ancient historians disagree about the exact cause. Some believed he died from natural illness, while later writers suggested he may have been poisoned by political rivals. Whatever the truth, his death devastated the Roman army. The empire had not only lost its greatest general, it had lost the one man holding the entire campaign together. Soon after, a new praetorian prefect named Philip, later known as Philip the Arab, assumed command of the imperial administration. His rise would dramatically change the course of Roman history. Without Timesitheus guiding the campaign, the young emperor now faced Persia alone, and the greatest battle of his reign was only days away. The death of Timesitheus changed everything. For nearly 2 years, the brilliant praetorian prefect had held the Roman campaign together through careful planning, military discipline, and strategic leadership. His sudden death left the young Gordian III without his greatest advisor at the exact moment Rome stood deep inside enemy territory. The Roman army still remained powerful, but it had lost the experienced commander who understood every detail of the campaign. Into this position stepped a new praetorian prefect, Marcus Julius Philippus, better known to history as Philip the Arab. Philip was an ambitious officer from the Roman province of Arabia. Intelligent and politically skilled, he quickly gained influence over the young emperor and assumed control of the army's administration. Ancient historians later accused Philip of secretly plotting against Gordian, although modern scholars continue to debate whether these accusations were true or simply political propaganda written after the emperor's death. Meanwhile, King Shapur I recognized Rome's moment of weakness. The Persian king reorganized his forces and prepared one final campaign to stop the Roman advance. Instead of allowing the Romans to continue toward Ctesiphon, Shapur gathered his elite cavalry and positioned them along the approaches near the city of Misiche in Mesopotamia. Early in 244 AD, the two great empires met once again. Roman legionaries advanced in their traditional disciplined formations, while Persian cavalry swept across the battlefield with incredible speed. Mounted archers rained arrows upon Roman lines before heavily armored horsemen launched devastating charges. The battle quickly became one of the fiercest clashes between Rome and the Sassanian Empire during the 3rd century. Exactly what happened next remains one of the greatest mysteries of Roman history. According to Persian inscriptions, Shapur I claimed that his army defeated the Romans decisively and personally killed Emperor Gordian III during the Battle of Misiche. To celebrate the victory, Shapur later renamed the city Peroz Shapur, meaning victorious is Shapur. Monumental rock carvings across Persia proudly displayed his triumph over Rome. Roman sources tell a different story. Several Roman historians suggest that Gordian did not die in battle at all. Instead, they claim he was either mortally injured during the campaign or assassinated shortly afterward by soldiers loyal to Philip the Arab, who allegedly wished to seize the imperial throne. Because the surviving evidence is contradictory, historians still cannot say with certainty how Gordian III actually died. What is certain is this. In February 244 AD, the young emperor was dead. He was only 19 years old. His reign, which had begun with such hope after the chaos of the year of the 6 emperors, ended far from Rome on the dusty plains of Mesopotamia. With the emperor gone, Philip the Arab immediately assumed control of the Roman army. Recognizing that continuing the war could destroy the exhausted legions, he negotiated a peace agreement with Shapur I. Rome reportedly paid a large indemnity to Persia and accepted terms that allowed the remaining Roman forces to withdraw safely from Mesopotamia. Although the agreement ended the campaign, many Romans viewed it as a painful compromise rather than a victory. The dream of capturing Ctesiphon had vanished, and the Sassanian Empire had proven itself to be Rome's most dangerous eastern rival. Philip returned to Rome and was officially recognized as emperor by the Senate. To strengthen his legitimacy, he honored Gordian III with a respectful funeral and declared him a deified emperor. Statues were erected, coins bearing Gordian's image continued to circulate, and official ceremonies praised the young ruler's courage. Even after his death, many Romans remembered Gordian not as a failed emperor, but as a promising young leader, who never received enough time to fulfill his potential. Historians often describe Gordian III as one of Rome's last hopeful rulers before the crisis of the 3rd century reached its darkest years. Under his reign, the empire briefly regained stability, achieved important military successes, and restored confidence after years of political chaos. Yet his mysterious death reopened the cycle of military politics that had already claimed so many emperors. As Philip the Arab entered Rome wearing the imperial purple, few citizens realized another historic milestone was approaching. The Roman Empire was about to celebrate its 1000th anniversary. But beneath the grand celebrations, the empire remained dangerously fragile. Civil wars, barbarian invasions, economic collapse, and new rivals still threatened Rome from every direction. The crisis of the 3rd century was far from over.